There are legends born in fire, and others carved in fear. Tonight, we don't just open a file in history, we pry open a vault sealed by blood, silence, and smoke.
They like to tell stories about me. Gangster, killer, devil in $1,000 suit. They throw my name around like it's a warning. Scarface, that's what they called me. Like a nickname could hold the weight of what I did. Like a scar was the worst thing I left behind, and people act like they know the whole story. But here's the truth. They didn't know a damn thing. They saw the headlines, the shootouts, the blood on Valentine's Day. They saw the suits, the cigars, the cars, but they didn't see the street kid from Brooklyn, the boy who learned that the law protects the rich, and the rich write the law. I didn't come into this world with power. I took it, brick by brick, street by street, body by body. So some of you think I was evil. No, I was necessary because I brought order to chaos, profit to prohibition, silence to betrayal, and I did it all without blinking. You came here for answers, for the legend, right? The monster in the mirror. Well, good. I'm not here to deny who I was. I'm here to remind you. Because power never really disappears, it just changes clothes. So go ahead, ask your questions, but don't expect mercy. Don't expect myths. This ain't a bedtime story. This is Capone.
The immortal we about to meet was request from Mr. Christopher from the platform YouTube. Welcome to Immortal Interviews, where history's greatest minds come to life. From emperors to outlaws, generals to rebels, each has shaped the world in their time. And now, they return to speak for themselves, their stories, their strategies, their truths. Imagine learning the art of strategy from Sun Tzu, the secrets of power from Cleopatra, the genius of innovation from Leonardo da Vinci, or the philosophy of resilience from Marcus Aurelius, just to name a few. This is more than just history. It's an immersive experience designed to unlock timeless lessons that you can apply to today's challenges, whether in business, leadership, personal growth, or the battles of everyday life. So, are you ready to meet the immortals? Let's begin.
They call me a monster, a villain, public enemy number one. Maybe they're right, or maybe they've only heard the parts of the story somebody else wanted them to hear. See, I didn't just run rackets. I ran a city. I made the law look slow, and the politicians look like they were still playing in the minors. I gave people what they were already looking for: booze, work, protection, and I took my cut. Fair trade, if you ask me. Some say I used fear, others say I used respect. Truth is, I used both. Cross me, you only get to do that once. They can lock me up, slap my name on every newspaper, call me every name in the book. But when the ink fades, when the bars rust, when everybody who ever shook my hand is long gone, the stories will still be told. Because I'm not just Al Capone. I'm the man who rewrote the rules and made sure nobody ever forgot my name.
Protection costs, Capone, especially now. Things are getting hot. You want him safe? I need more money.
My boy's moving more product than anyone in the city. We needs protection, real protection. More money, huh? You pigs always snorting for scraps. Don't worry about the mess. That's just business. Take a seat and let's talk.
You were born in Brooklyn, just another immigrant kid trying to get by. But by the time you were in your 30s, you controlled the streets of Chicago. How does that happen, Al? What turned the kid on the corner into the man who ran a city?
Let me tell you something right off the bat. Brooklyn didn't hand out dreams. It handed out bruises. If you were lucky, you learned quick. If you weren't, well, they stepped over you on the way to the butcher shop. I came up watching men break their backs for pennies, watching cops treat honesty like weakness. You see enough of that, you start asking the right question. Not how do I survive, but how do I win? I didn't have a roadmap. I had fists, hustle, and an ear for opportunity. You learn who to trust, who to buy, and when to show your teeth. I didn't claw my way out of nothing. I built my way up, brick by bloody brick. Chicago, that city was a loaded gun. All it needed was someone with the nerve to pull the trigger, and I didn't hesitate. So what turned the kid into the king? The world showed me what power looked like. I just decided I wanted more of it than anybody else.
People don't come into this world evil. Something happens along the way. The world makes you choose, victim or villain. So when did you choose your side, Al? When did the kid vanish and the gangster take his place?
I was never the villain in my own story. I didn't wake up and say, today I'm gonna be feared. I woke up hungry, tired of watching the wrong people get ahead for doing worse than I ever dreamed of. You want to talk about choices? The real choice was between being invisible and being respected. I ran with guys who didn't ask permission. They took what they needed, protected who they had to, and didn't apologize. The day I became a gangster, probably the day I realized the cops were just another crew, one with badges instead of brass knuckles. After that, the streets made sense, and I stopped waiting for permission to matter.
They called you Scarface, a name meant to shame, to brand, to define. But behind every scar is a moment, a turning point. What happened that night? And how did that name become more than a wound, but a weapon?
It was in Brooklyn, and I was only 17. I was working the door at a club, and some drunk starts hassling a girl. I stepped in, told him to walk away, but he didn't. Instead, he came at me with a bottle and a blade. Next thing I know, I had 3 lines down my cheek. That's it, 1 second, and suddenly I ain't Al anymore. I'm Scarface. Reporters loved it. Gave him a story, made me sound like a monster. I hated it, still do. But you know what? People feared the name. It stuck to their throats like smoke. You see a guy with a scar, you start wondering what gave it to him and what else he survived. So I wore it with pride and purpose, and you don't pick your legend, the streets do.
You didn't just break the rules, you rewrote them. That made you rich, and it made you hunted. Rivals, lawmen, even your own men, maybe. How many times did someone try to put you in the ground, and how close did they really come?
Let's just say I never took a peaceful breath in this business. You don't get this far without painting a few targets on your back. Some came with guns, others with fake smiles and slippery deals. I had a lot of people on the payroll, so I got tipped off more times than I can count. Guys tried to blow up my car, ambush me at restaurants. Even one guy walked into my barber shop with a pistol tucked in his coat, so they had their shot and missed. But I didn't. But I had a rule: never get too comfortable, never sit with your back to the door, and always have someone watching the guy behind you. That's how I stayed breathing when a dozen others didn't. My closest call was in Cicero, 1926. They lit the street up with Tommy guns, but again missed me by inches. So I walked away, but some of my guys didn't, and that's why I'm here, and they're not.
You weren't just a local boss. You sat at the table with the legends: Luciano, Lansky, Torrio. Together, you helped build the Commission, a council of organized crime that shaped the underworld like a corporation. Was it about unity, or was it just predators keeping the peace until someone bled?
We called it the Commission, like we were bankers, senators, gentlemen. But underneath, it was wolves negotiating territory, trying not to bite until the deal was signed. And those who sat at the table wasn't there for friendship. They were there for balance, because they were the smartest killers in the country, all pretending to toast while they mapped each other's funerals in their heads. There was Luciano, a genius, calm, calculating, and could make a man feel safe while he signed his own death warrant. Lansky was all numbers and ice, no emotion, just percentages. My mentor Torrio, who was the architect, and he knew when to build and when to vanish. Then there were me. I brought the muscle, the money, and the message that if some problems couldn't be reasoned with, then they had to be removed. So we didn't trust each other, but we did respect each other, and that was enough to control the peace because we all knew that chaos kills profits.
You built your empire on loyalty, but it was respect that kept the wolves at bay. And fear is what kept you alive. In a world of killers and kings, you didn't just command power. You had to wear it like armor. So tell me, Al, who did you truly respect? And who, if anyone, did you fear?
Most men confuse respect with obedience because they think fear and loyalty are the same thing. They're not. One disappears when you turn your back. The other, that stays in the room even after you leave. I respected Johnny Torrio more than anyone because he taught me how to build a city, not just take it. He ran Chicago with strategy, not just force, and that man could shut down a war with a whisper. He didn't just teach me the rules. He taught me how to rewrite them. But fear, yeah, there was one man who made me think twice. Charlie Luciano. Lucky. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He smiled, always smiled. And you never knew if you were shaking his hand or signing your death certificate. He played the long game, the quiet game. While the rest of us were fighting over corners, Lucky was planning cities. That kind of mind is what you fear, not because it screams, but because it doesn't have to. One thing to learn is the loudest men in the room die first, and the ones who whisper, well, they bury the rest.
February 14th, 1929. 7 men gunned down in a North Side garage. Executed. No trial, no warning. Just blood on concrete. And silence in the aftermath. The world remembers it as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. You weren't there. You were in Florida, publicly. But your name was already on the bullet casings. Al, what really happened that day? Was it revenge? A warning? Or was it something even colder? Business?
People loved that story. 7 men lined up like bottles on a shelf. Bang, bang, bang. Gone. The press called it a massacre. The streets called it a reckoning. Me? I called it necessary. The Moran crew had crossed too many lines and gotten too bold, hijacking my trucks, gunning down my men, and figured they were untouchable. They weren't. Yes, I wasn't there. I was in Florida drinking scotch under the sun because that's where I needed to be. But just because you ain't holding the gun doesn't mean you didn't load it. If you let a rat run long enough, you don't get back cheese. You get plague. So that day wasn't about blood. It was about momentum, and the city needed a message, which was, you don't take from me without consequences. Some said it was brutal. Others said it was smart. But everybody got the message, and after that day, everyone knew who they were dealing with.
A man like you made enemies every day. Some you crushed, some you outlived. But hate is rare, hate is personal. So tell me, Al, of all the men who crossed you, betrayed you, or tried to take what was yours, who did you hate the most? And what made that name burn deeper than the rest?
I didn't waste time hating people. Most of them weren't worth the emotion, so you deal with them and move on. But there was one name I never let go of, Frankie Yale. He wasn't just another thug, he was my start and gave me my first break in Brooklyn. Taught me the ropes, treated me like blood, and I looked up to him, trusted him, believed in him. And then I find out he's skimming, robbing me blind, smiling to my face while stabbing me in the back. He thought I wouldn't find out, thought I was still a kid, too dumb to know better. That betrayal, it wasn't business. It was personal. That was family turning into rot. I didn't just hate Frankie Yale for what he did. I hated him for what he was supposed to be. He made me doubt my judgment, and in this world that's poison. I gave him respect. He gave me lies, so I gave him silence, permanently.
You've ordered death. You've seen it. You've survived it. But I want to ask about the one that stayed with you. Not the one you justified, but the one that woke you at night. Was there someone you had killed that you regretted?
Yeah, there was one. His name was Danny, just a kid, ran errands, clean, loyal, bright even. We lost a shipment, major hit. He was the only one who knew the route. Word came down that he talked. I didn't wait. Couldn't. In our world, you hesitate, you die. I gave the order, quick, clean. 2 days later, we find out he didn't say a word. It was a cop on the payroll feeding info. His mother came to see me, didn't cry. Just asked, quiet as a whisper, why her son never came home. I told her I didn't know, but I did, and I carry that guilt. See, I've buried a lot of men, and most deserved it. But Danny didn't, and it still haunts me to this day.
Before the headlines, before the scars and the blood and the empire, there was a boy, a kid from Brooklyn, wide-eyed, fists clenched, staring at a world that didn't care if he lived or starved. If you could sit across from him now, Al, not as a boss, but as a man, what would you say? Would you warn him? Would you stop him? Or would you let him walk straight into legend?
That kid, I remember him. Torn shoes, split knuckles, heart full of fire, mouth full of dirt, always hungry for more, for respect, for a name that meant something. I'd look him in the eye and I'd say, keep your chin up, keep your back to the wall, trust slow, move fast. I wouldn't warn him. What would be the point? You don't rise from the gutter by playing safe. That boy didn't want safety. He wanted freedom, and he got it on his own terms. I might tell him to be quieter, to keep the spotlight off his back. Maybe he'd last longer, maybe not. But would I stop him? No, because even with all the blood, all the heat, all the knives in the dark, that kid became me, and whether you love me or hate me, you remember me. That's more than most men ever get.
No court ever proved it. No jury ever heard it. But the streets kept score. They say you didn't just build an empire, you buried one. Quietly, efficiently, permanently. So let's not pretend anymore, Al. How many people did you kill or have killed? And what does that number mean to you now?
You want a number? There isn't one. Not because I forgot, but because I never counted. People think this life's like a movie, that you keep track like notches on a gun. But that ain't how it works. In my world, you don't keep score, you keep control. Some of them I did myself, some I just gave the nod. But I never killed without cause. Some people needed to be removed because some were threats. Others were examples, and sometimes it was just the principle. You disrespect the outfit, you disappear. Simple. So how many did I kill? Enough to make the city listen, enough to make history whisper my name instead of shouting someone else's.
We've talked about what you did. The empire, the fear, the fire. But I want to go deeper. Because nobody becomes a gangster by accident. The streets might open the door, but something inside you has to step through. So tell me, Al, what truly made you become a gangster? Was it pain, pride, or something else entirely?
People love to say I chose this life like I had a dozen clean roads and picked the one lined with bodies. But let me ask you this. What do you call a man who watches his father break his back for pennies while crooks eat steak in the mayor's mansion? What do you call a kid who sees honest men crushed by a system built for someone else? I didn't become a gangster because I loved crime. I became one because I understood something most people never do. In a world where the game is rigged, you don't play fair, you play smart, you play ruthless, you play to win. I didn't want blood, I wanted leverage. I didn't want fear, I wanted freedom. And the only men I ever saw who had it didn't wear badges. You called it crime, I called it survival. And then I made it an empire.
Your empire was built on loyalty. Men lived and died by it. But betrayal was always one whisper away. How did you maintain control, knowing that the man who shook your hand might be planning your end?
Loyalty in my world wasn't optional. It was survival. I paid my guys better than most, gave them food, protection, status. But I also made one thing clear. Betray me once, and there's no tomorrow. I didn't rule with friendship. I ruled with consequence. I knew betrayal would come. It always does. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I trusted very few and watched everyone. and I made examples of the ones who forgot who they were working for. Loyalty isn't a word, it's a contract written in blood. And in Chicago, mine was the signature that mattered.
You outlived rivals, dodged police, and danced with death more times than history could count. But there had to be a moment, one heartbeat, where it almost ended. A trigger pulled too soon, a step too slow, a breath too late. Tell me, Al, when was the moment death came closest? And how did you walk away from it?
Cicero, 1926. We were moving through the neighborhood, middle of the day. I'd gotten word that Moran's guys were sniffing around, but I figured, broad daylight, they wouldn't be that bold. I was wrong. As we passed the corner, it happened. 2 cars screeched in like the devil himself was driving. Tommy guns lit up the street. 40, maybe 50 rounds in 10 seconds. Glass shattered. My guy behind the wheel caught one in the shoulder. 2 others never even made it out the car. A bullet clipped the collar of my coat. That close. 1 breath to the left, and you're interviewing a gravestone instead of me. When the smoke cleared, I stepped out, adjusted my jacket, lit a cigar, didn't run, didn't speak, just stared them down, even if they were already gone. That day, I didn't win with bullets. I won by showing the city that I don't break, even when death is whispering in my ear.
Al, you built an empire. You commanded fear, rewrote the streets, and carved your name into history with fire and steel. But legacy has a weight. Regret has a voice. And memory doesn't forget. So now I ask you, if you had to do it all again, from the back alleys of Brooklyn to the throne of Chicago, would you choose the same road? Or would you trade it all for something quieter?
That's the question they all want to ask, the one they think might crack me open. You want the truth? I'd take the same road, every step, every fight, every sin that got me to the top. But I'd change how I walked it. I'd be smarter, quieter, and I wouldn't let the spotlight blind me. I'd build from the shadows instead of standing in front of them like I was invincible. The fame, that's what got me pinched. Not the crime, the noise around it. If I had to do it again, I'd still rise, but I'd do it invisible, silent, and then become untouchable, because the goal was never chaos. The goal was control. And if I'd played it cleaner, you'd still know my name. You just wouldn't know how close I still was.
Power silences a lot of things. Fear, doubt, second thoughts. But silence has a way of bringing something else to the surface. Al, was there ever a question you couldn't escape? One that followed you when the city fell asleep, when the guns were quiet, when the suits went home? What's the question that haunted you? Not as a boss, but as a man.
Yeah, there were nights I looked at myself and didn't recognize the man in the glass. Not because I regretted the game, but because I lost sight of where it started. I came in to protect my family, feed the people I loved, but along the way, the streets demanded more, and I gave it. So yeah, the question that haunted me wasn't what did I do, it was what did I trade to become unforgettable?
You left a trail of bodies, some deserved, some not. But as we sit here at the edge of legacy and memory, do you regret the lives you ended, Al? The choices that bled into the streets?
Regret. Yeah, regret's a funny thing. It creeps up when the noise fades, when the cigars burn too short, and I didn't flinch when I gave the nod. I didn't blink when the bodies fell. That was the cost of order. That was the tax of control. But yeah, there are faces I still see. Some young, some loyal, some who never knew why the barrel pointed at them. You don't get to the top clean. You don't stay there without getting stained. And sometimes when the music stops, the room's too quiet. But if you're asking me if I'd take it back, no, because in my world, mercy gets you killed, and regret don't pay the bills.
You were untouchable. The law couldn't catch you. The streets bent to your will. You silenced rivals, buried enemies, and bought silence in every corner of Chicago. But in the end, it wasn't a bullet that brought you down. It was a ledger, a tax code, a man with a briefcase instead of a gun. So tell me, Al, how does the most feared man in America get caged by a piece of paper?
It wasn't the murders, wasn't the booze, wasn't even the bodies they kept digging up. It was taxes. I built an empire with blood and brains, and they tore it down with a calculator. The feds couldn't pin the bodies, so they pinned the books. They followed the money, found the cracks, and the men I paid to keep them quiet, some of them folded faster than a cheap suit. You want irony? Here it is. I walked through gang wars, shootouts, assassination attempts, and it was a damn accountant that got me in chains. They sent me to Alcatraz, locked me in a cell like I was just another number. But even behind bars, they couldn't erase the name, because you can cage the man, but you can't cage the legend.
Listen for me in a violin. Listen for me when the knife is turning.
You ruled in the shadows of Prohibition, but the world has changed, or so we like to believe. There's no Tommy guns in the streets anymore, but corruption still wears suits. Greed still smiles for cameras. Power still hides behind polite smiles. So if you could speak to the people in our time, the dreamers, the climbers, the ones chasing the crown, what would you tell them, Al? And why?
Truth? The truth is, your world ain't so different from mine. You just wear better masks. You trade bullets for contracts, bribes for sponsorships. You drown in media instead of gin, but the thirst's the same. Control. You want my advice? Stop pretending. Power always comes with a price. The difference is, I never lied about it. If you want to win, stop waiting for permission. Be smarter, be sharper. And remember, legacy ain't built on good intentions. It's built on what people fear losing. And if you're not willing to get your hands dirty, then stay out of the game. Because the players at the top, they never walked in clean. They just learned how to bleed quietly.
Al Capone, you ruled an empire that law couldn't touch and history couldn't ignore. You showed us the price of power, the shadow behind the suit, and the truth behind the legend. Not everyone will agree with you. Not everyone will forgive you. But tonight, we didn't come to judge. We came to listen. And for that, we thank you.
You want to thank me? Save it. I didn't come here for gratitude. I came here to remind you. You call me a monster, Scarface, public enemy, the butcher of Chicago. But I want you to think real hard about something before I disappear back into the fog. Before you go, let me ask your audience a question. Do you think I'm the monster or just the mirror? You see, I didn't invent greed and I didn't create corruption. I just made it profitable, and I didn't make the system dirty. I exposed it. I didn't stab people in the back. I stabbed them from the front. The truth is, you don't fear me. Not really. Deep down, some of you even envy me because I took what I wanted and never said sorry. So go ahead, judge me. But just know, your world still runs on the blueprint I left behind, and I didn't ask history to remember me. I just made damn sure it couldn't forget.
Wow. That was an amazing interview, and I can see why people feared him. Al Capone ruled in the shadows, in silence, in steel. He made fear an empire, and legacy a weapon, and as we witnessed tonight, he didn't vanish into history. He etched his name into it. Like a scar the world still traces with trembling hands. But our journey doesn't end here. The past still whispers. Another legend stirs beneath the surface, waiting, watching, ready to speak. Tonight, we didn't just explore history, we sat face to face with it. An immortal spoke, unfiltered, unapologetic, unforgettable. But our journey is far from over, because we plan to bring more immortals back to life and hear what they have to say. So, if you enjoyed this encounter, then subscribe now and tap that like and notification bell so you're ready when the next legend steps out of the shadows. And just like that, another immortal slips back into the shadows of history. But they appeared because you wanted to hear their voice. So, I thank you, Mr. Christopher, for requesting us for interview this immortal. Now the question is, who's next? Whose name still stirs in the echoes of time, waiting to be heard? Drop your choice in the comments below. Want to be named in the next episode? Just say yes, mention. Prefer to remain unseen? Just add no mention. And if you dare, tell us what you'd ask them. What burning question would you place before a legend? Your voice shapes what happens next. Your question could travel through time. So go ahead. It's your turn to request an immortal legend. Who should we summon next from the depths of time? A ruler? A rebel? A monster cloaked in myth? Drop their name in the comments, and we'll do the impossible. We'll bring them back, and ask the questions no one ever dared to while we learn their secrets from time. But for now, sit back, breathe deep, and prepare for a glimpse into our next unforgettable encounter. This is Immortal Interviews, where the dead speak, the past breathes, and legends come alive. See you in the next episode. Over 2,500 years ago, in the shadows of ancient China, a man wrote not with ink, but with insight that could shape empires. His name was Sun Tzu, and what he left behind was not a book. It was a manual for victory. His words became the secret weapon of kings, emperors, warlords, and today, military strategists, and even covert operatives. Wars have been won because of him. Empires have fallen for ignoring him. He taught us that the greatest victory is the one achieved without fighting.